Hello, everybody, and welcome to another. Well, this is a whole different episode of Off the Record podcast, but welcome. I am honored to be here with the man, the myth, the legend, okay, Mr. David Yontef of Behind the Velvet Rope podcast. Hello, David. How are you this morning?
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Like I said, I shared to you just a little bit ago. And look, I got my coffee mug just like you. Okay. I came ready. I came
I
prepared.
cannot do an episode of my Behind the Velvet Rope podcast without my coffee. I've been drunk once on air, and 99.9% of the other time it's all just coffee, coffee, and more coffee.
I have been drunk plenty of times. Trust me. I've been drunk so many times on my show. It's actually embarrassing.
It's okay.
Right. Share too many things I didn't want to share, but hey, it is what it is. Okay, so again, I just want to start off by really giving you your flowers because this is a big moment for me. And let me just start off by saying that, like, I am a huge fan. I love your podcast. So I do have a podcast, obviously, but you're the only other podcast actually that I listen to. I love your takes. I love you and Kim D. That was the initial. I guess the initial start of me getting into your podcast. I just scrolling on YouTube and saw you and Kim D breaking down something about Real Housewives in New Jersey. And I was like, okay, I'm interested. Let me get in this. And since that video, I have been a big fan. So I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming on and doing this with me. I mean, this means a lot to me. This is a big deal for me.
You are welcome. And those chats with Kim D, I swear, who knew? They have become everyone's favorite day of the week. Like, I could not have predicted this.
I literally wait for Saturdays to come for the Kim D episode because I love them so much. Like I'm telling you, that was like my gateway. It really got me back into Real Housewives of New Jersey as well. Like it got me back interested in the show. So, but we'll go over all that in a little bit. But I just want to start off by saying again, thank you so much for doing this. I'm a big fan, so this is pretty big for me. So
Anytime.
go ahead. Oh, thank you. So go ahead and just start by telling me a little bit about you and and my listeners about you and how you kind of got into all the podcasting thing, because I'm very interested to hear about that.
So, right. So my podcast, Behind the Velvet Rope, it's 7 days a week. It is an interview with it's mostly Bravo people, but we interview real celebrities too. But it's a different interview every day of the week, with the caveat that 2 days a week we dish celebrity gossip, and mostly Bravo and mostly Housewives. So, I have had everyone on my show. Really every housewife you could imagine, like Countess Luann, Sonia Morgan, Sutton Strack. We could just keep going. Giselle from Potomac, Candy Burris. So we've had every housewife. It's just a bunch of interviews. And then we just dish the tea the other 2 days of the week and just get to the bottom of all that's going on. So I tell people, if you love Bravo and pop culture, we do cover other shows too, but it's really it's a lot of housewives and reality TV interviews, mostly Bravo.
And yes, it is. Or go ahead.
No, and I was going to say, I just fell into it. I was hanging out with these housewives. And so really when my show started, it was you're hanging out with these people and these stories. I don't know, are they interesting? Does anyone care what happened last night at the bar with, whoever? And then so when I started, it really was kind of like Wendy Williams style of we're going to hang out, but I'm going to talk about this on air tomorrow. And so just be forewarned. So it's that's what it is. And that's what it's become. And it kind of just works.
And that's and you kind of actually answered. Well, you kind of went into one of my questions, but that's what I wanted to know. How did you, I guess, get into the whole fold? So you were already hanging out with a lot of these people. You already kind of knew them on a personal level. That's how it kind of manifested in a sense.
Kind of, it's listen, I live in New York City most of the year. So you do have these reality shows that are in New York. You have Jersey Housewives and New York Housewives and Jersey Shore. Right. And so I don't know, a lot of reality people hang out with each other. And so it just kind of happened and it was organic. And then one thing led to another. And the next thing you know, it was what it was. And I'm these stories to me, I almost equated to being a child of a celebrity. it's your normal life, right? Like Blue Ivy, that's her norm. But at some point, you have to realize like your parents, Beyonce and Jay-Z, are probably not the average parents out there. So I
Yeah,
had
absolutely.
these stories and I'm like, I find none of these so interesting. But to someone, and that's where the name came from, Behind the Velvet Rope. I'm like, to someone that's maybe not hanging out with this person, maybe they are interested that she had another drink, fell off the bar stool, went home with someone. I'm like, so let's see, is anyone really interested in these stories? And that's kind of when I turn the mic on, and that's when I'm like, oh man, people want all the little details that I might not find interesting, but if I step out of the situation I'm in, to everyone else, this might be an interesting story. And that's just kind of how it all took effect.
But I think it is interesting. And one thing I love about really you, I think your delivery is so perfect. And I think that's why I was so excited really to get you on the podcast, because I know you're a talker, because I listened to your podcast and I was like, okay, he's a talker, I'm a talker. This is probably a good moment. This is a good mashup. But I think the way you deliver everything is like perfect, because it's candid, but it's very funny and it's lighthearted. And I mean, until you get down with a bitch, until you have to read a bitch, like how you read Miss Malaya Gorga. But yeah, I think the way you deliver it is very authentic, and it's not try hard, and it's very easy to digest. And I think that's one of the best things about your podcast. It's very easy listening, I would say. And like I said, the way you deliver things is it's like perfect, really, 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 really good. Like, so I almost study that in a sense.
I love it. And that's really kind of the point. Listen, there's a lot of Bravo podcasts out there that I have heard clips of. And I'm like, I just think that's, to me, the biggest turnoff is when someone's trying too hard, trying to be funny, trying to be shocking. It's like, we're not trying here behind the velvet rope. We're just dishing the dirt. And right, when we have to read a bitch, we're going to read a bitch. And it just is what it is, and yeah. And the interviews are different. The interviews are not about me. It's all about the other person. It's really just getting the tea that like you want to hear. And so it's kind of like a different skill set, the interviews versus like the days that I'm dishing the celebrity gossip dirt with Kim D from New Jersey. So it's just like a different, I'm kind of like, you go back and forth between the two.
Yeah, but again, you do it to me with such ease, and it doesn't feel like, I guess, forced, or it doesn't feel like contrived, like literally, like how you can go from interviewing or just having your Saturday dish tea sessions with Kim D and literally sit down with Bo Dietl and have a really great interview, which your interview with him was very, very good, I will say.
Thank you.
Yes, I was like, hello, iconic, you got the legend Bo Dietl. Now, I also want to know, like, so kind of how we're talking about your podcast. Did you really ever think it would get to the magnitude or the level that it is now? I mean, and I actually have it written down here. You've been mentioned in publications like that many people would like die for. Vanity Fair, The Today Show, The Wall Street Journal, TMZ, Page Six, your friends at Page Six, The Wall Street Journal. I mean, literally, like, and so many more. Like, how does that make you feel that your podcast really has kind of, touched and been seen by millions of people, really?
I mean, I never could have predicted it, to be honest with you. It really wasn't. I don't even know. Like, I think when I started this, I don't know if there was such a goal, but the more things started happening and these publications started reaching out and like covering it, and it really just turned. So, I mean, I'm humbled, first of all, to answer your question. I never expected this per se. But once all that started happening, just something in me went from like, this is a hobby to this is a business to like, this is a real business. And there's no more emotions involved, because now it is like, this is a business. So it's all become about, I mean, look, it's of course about doing the job and doing good work and putting it out, and a product people love. But like, I'm really into the behind the scenes numbers and, what this means and what's happening. So it's really become like a full-time business, which, I mean, I guess
great for you.
Yeah.
It's great for you. I mean, because I think I'm in that stage that you kind of just mentioned too, because like I'm a new podcast. I've been doing this for a little over a year. Which is
Okay.
why I still think that it is great that I got you. I'm gonna keep saying that because I'm just so happy because I just think that is amazing. Like there's somebody of your stature, of course, and you're humble, and I don't think you think of yourself in that way. But I guess for me, as you being the only other podcast that I listen to, like that's pretty big for me. And a year in, I'm like, hell the fuck yeah, I'm happy about that shit.
Well, I was going to say, with 7 days a week, we're the only podcast you need to listen to other than your own, because
That's
it's
right.
there's, I mean, people are always like, oh my God. And I'm like, we're just going to keep putting out content. I mean, I can't keep up fast enough. When I went to 7 days a week, I said one day, it really, that too was temporary. It was supposed to just be temporary, and we're going to run out of content and we can't keep up this pace. But it's just the opposite. Like, I mean, I could put out 14 shows a week and people seem to want to listen. And like, I just have a lot of content that I can't keep up with. So we're 7 days a week. We're not going to put out more than 7 shows a week, but we can keep someone busy every day if they would like to. And I think that's really become, like, people will tell me like, oh, you're my morning coffee, you're my afternoon run, or so. It's like, it's become an everyday thing.
Yeah, but see, that's the beauty of it too. Now, I guess, how do you manage all of that? Because I think for me, especially, and even hearing you say like take your emotions out of it, I think that's probably been one of my bigger struggles, is because I mean, of course, like this is what you do, this is like what you're dedicated to, but you also have your life outside of here. And I think that's the balance I feel like I've been trying to really manage. I think I've done well so far. I really have done a pretty good job of like keeping out content and stuff like that. But I guess hearing from you, somebody who's been doing this, for a while, how do you manage to kind of keep your, I guess, emotions out of it and be able to delegate between the two of like, this is podcast, energy, or this is like everything else, dealing with everything else? How do you split your energy, I guess, to be able to balance it all?
I mean, look, I'm myself on air, right? Like, you
Right.
are yourself, but in a way, I guess you are a heightened version of yourself. I mean, you
Right.
do. I don't know. And like, people are always like, people don't realize this, but I really, really am totally fine to never, ever talk about Real Housewives or Bravo when I'm not on air now. It's
See, good.
I'm fine to never talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
I split my time between New York and LA. And when I was in LA, I have friends there that from New York that are there for 3 months, and they were having this goodbye party. And it was a whole thing. I thought it was just like a goodbye dinner. No, people had name cards, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is more formal than I
Oh,
thought.
it's like a real, you're right.
It was a real like Sutton Strack moment of like, here are the name cards. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And, then I sit down and I'm like, oh, my friend purposely seats me next to these two guys, one across from me, one next to me, who just love Bravo. This isn't a coincidence.
Yeah.
I know you did this on purpose. They say they listen to the podcast, and all of this is fine. Love all of this. And then
Right.
they just want to talk the entire dinner. Who's your favorite housewife? What's this one like? What's that one like? And I'm like,
Not if you're going away dinner.
right. And like, I'll engage, it's fine, but it's just, so it really has become where like, I'm like, oh, can we talk about anything else? I mean,
Right. I
anything, pick
mean,
any topic. So I think that's how I did. It's kind of come full circle. It's really,
yeah.
I go to some housewife events. I just went to the premiere of Crappy Lake, like Luann invited me. So I went, but I'm okay to not do any of that anymore and just not have it be part of my personal life. It seeps in, but I feel like that's kind of how I divide the energy. And I feel when people meet me, they feel that I am much nicer. Like, I think I'm a nicer version of myself as a real person. I mean, I could get a little
I
messy
don't think
on
you're
air.
mean though.
You don't
I
think
don't think
so?
you're mean. No, I think that's why I was super excited. Well, I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I was nervous yesterday, but then coming in today, I was very excited because I was just kind of like, again, I know he's chatty, I'm chatty. So I was like, there's nothing really to be nervous about. It's almost like talking to someone, and maybe that's my own doing, getting super familiar with people that I don't know. But like, I feel like I was already like kind of knew you in a sense. I didn't know much about you, but I kind of knew a little bit of you. Does that make sense? So I
Yeah,
was kind of like,
totally.
yeah, so I was kind of like, okay, like cool, this will be a breeze. But so that's good. I guess you have to learn how to differentiate. I think the difference though, unfortunately, probably with my podcast, which I probably need to start kind of maybe looking at it at the same in the same vein as you. I talk about a lot of personal things. Like I talk about a lot of like personal growth, a lot of like, things that happen in my life that I share to inspire and maybe help somebody else get through a hard time. So I think I put a lot of myself in my work. And I think that's where the difference is, where almost, I guess, in a sense, since it is Bravo or like other people, you can kind of detach. I feel like that's a good thing in a lot of ways though, because again, I feel like I carry my shit with me. Like wherever I go, I carry my own stories, I carry my own baggage, whatever the fuck.
I mean, like some of my personal stuff seeps in more just on the day of the week. Like I tell people, like people will literally say, well, you said this 3 days ago. I'm like, girl, if you're listening to every word I say, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Cause I mean, I don't remember what I say and I change with the days. And so when one day you're feeling one thing. And so
Yeah.
it's like that type of stuff, I guess I bring in like some of my moods of the day per se, even though it's
Yeah.
professional. But I'm like, maybe I wouldn't be so angry about this tomorrow. Maybe I wouldn't be on as much of a soapbox. So it's
I
like
feel
it
that though.
that stuff
I
kind
feel
of
that.
seeps in.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess it's only natural in a sense because again, you are being yourself on camera. So however you show up that day is just how you show up. And yeah, I think that's very good. So like I was saying too, also, since I've been doing this only a little bit over a year, I guess as you as an experience, besides that, what other advice do you think you could give maybe another person that's wanting to start a podcast or that already has been doing it and wants to maybe kind of see a little bit more success or get a little bit more under their belt, I guess I'll say.
I think
As you
like I
first.
think like maybe tune out the noise and like
Mm,
focus on yourself. Like don't focus on the competition.
right.
Do the job first and really, I guess, do look at the numbers. I mean, that's kind of my show has changed. Like my show went from this Wendy Williams style to like these interviews to like one day I
Right.
woke up and I was like, if I'm really going to look at the numbers of what shows are doing well, I don't know how, but these two gossip shows I do every week where I just don't, which are way less preparation. I mean, the interviews you have to prepare for this and
Right.
that, and this is you have to do research. But I'm like, these two gossip shows that I do, I'm like, these are like the highest rated shows, which wow, and they're 1,000 times easier. So that's where it became like, why are we putting out an inner? So to me, it's like focus on yourself. Don't worry about the competition. Like nobody is you. You're you. So there
Mm,
really is no competition.
there you
And
go.
kind of like for me, because it became a business, like looking at the
Exactly.
numbers of like, well, these are the shows I didn't necessarily think were the more popular ones, but they are. So like, and be flexible to pivot. I mean, at some
Mm,
point, you got to do what you want because it's yours. But if the audience wants you to do this, I mean, that is what pays the bills. So you're like, okay, we're going to do this. So it's like, it's kind of like within reason, just being malleable and going. I mean, at some point you have to say this is what the people want. If the people want
yeah.
Bethany Frankel on Housewives, at some point she has to say, I give up. I'm just going to talk about Housewives now because that seems to be what
And
all.
that's all she talks about
Yeah,
now, anyways.
that
But
is all she talks about now, anyways.
but I think and that is perfect. Like being flexible in a sense because I've noticed that too. Like so I did like a trial, I guess I'll say, where I did a hot topics episode and just kind of did my Wendy Williams style hot topics. And that actually was probably one of my higher rated episodes. And so I guess it's more about don't be like you said, don't be afraid to pivot. I think that is perfect because really I think I can take that advice for myself. Don't be afraid to pivot. I mean, even doing this, I'm so used to being in studio. Like I have a studio that I shoot my content in. So this is like a whole new pivot for me in a sense. But I actually enjoy this way more because it's on my own dime and it's on my own time. Okay. And I can do it whenever and however I want to do it. So I like that. So I think that's wise advice. I would take that for sure. Okay, so getting still into the podcast, we haven't gotten off the podcast yet. So I know you've had so many stars, as you said before, so many stars have come on your show and have done interviews with you, like Candy Burris, who I love, and I really want on my podcast. And I actually just reached out to someone the other day trying to get that in the works because I love Candy. I respect her so much. Bo Dietl, as I said earlier, Janice Dickinson, Suzanne Summers, Melissa Rivers. Like you really kind of indulged yourself in this. So who has been your favorite interview that you've had thus far?
I mean, I feel like it changes so often. I mean, Janice Dickinson, first of all, is she's just off the
Oh,
chart. Like,
geez.
she will say anything. So I feel like she's been on 3 times. So, like, this past time she was just on, I was not excited is not really the word, but it's truly that, like, she's already been on. It was great, but but if I think back to the first time I got Janice, I was like, oh my God, this is major. So
Yeah.
she's certainly up there as one of the best of all. The housewife
Right.
we've had on the most is Luann. Luann has been on like 8 times. So like Luann holds a
Oh,
special
wow.
place. Yeah, she's been on a lot. And then there's something that's so current, like if you mention Bo Dietl or like Alison Dubois, come the psychic who said, Mauricio will never fill you. Now she comes, so it's like there's things that are just really timely where it's now on like a Monday and you're like, my week is hell, but oh my God, like I can have Bo Dietl on tomorrow and put it out next week. And so there's things that are really like timely where those things hit hard and it's like, wow, we have to change around the whole week. But that's where you feel like you're chasing a story and like in a kind of an exciting way.
Yeah. So would you prefer the timely ones or do you prefer the ones where I guess like the Janice Dickinson, where you can kind of just sit down and actually kind of like shoot the shit with a person? Or do you prefer the chasing the story? Which one gives you the most excitement out of that?
I mean, both. Like chasing the story is great because I've been doing this for so long. Like I know when something's going to be huge. Like I knew the Bo Dietl chat was going to be huge. Like I knew that Alison Dubois commenting now that she was right 13 years later about Kyle and Mauricio. I knew that was going to be huge. So it's like chasing the story is exciting. It is. It's like, oh my God. But at this, because it really is, the stars have to align. Like you have to, like, I know Allison, now I know Bo. So it's like you have to really, but the timing has to work out. They have to be willing to do it within a matter of like 3 or 4 days because it has to go out the next week. So it's really exciting and it is such an adrenaline rush. And it's going to be a huge episode and you're going to get ratings. But it is a hell of a lot of fucking work because literally my week is planned out now. And then something happens and this person wants to record in 2 days. So now it's like I have to change my schedule, prepare for the interview, which could take
its own
thing, interview the person, and then edit it and process it and get all of that ready to go out right away. So it's amazing, but there are so many things. Other shows had to be bumped for Bo Dietl. Other shows had to be bumped for Allison. And that's fine. You just push them to a later date, but you're just like bumping is always, it's a lot of work. That's all. So you hate it, but you love it at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. So which I guess like I said, who's been your favorite, but now who is someone that you would love to get on your podcast that you have not yet gotten, or maybe that we haven't seen yet? Because I'm sure you have a lot in the can ready for your listeners.
I have a lot in the can. I mean, I really want Lisa Rinna. I want Lisa Rinna. Or maybe a Kathy Hilton, but I would love Lisa Rinna.
Do you think Rinna would do it? Because didn't she block you?
She blocked me. She also doesn't do a lot of podcasts. She's really that like, let me brand myself as better than, I mean, especially now that she's not on Housewives. She did block me, which every time I get blocked, I'm like, man, there are so many people that should block me. And then the ones that block me are not the ones that really should. I've never said anything bad about Lisa Rinna. I think she's great. No, I've just said that she was fired from the Real Housewives. And I guess since she's out there saying that she left, and Andy Cohen has some story about a text message, I don't care how the words play itself out. I mean, Lisa Rinna did not walk away from a $1 million and 800,000, whatever it was she was getting in year 8 on her own. I'm sorry.
I believe that 100%. See, that's why I really enjoy your takes because I believe most of the stuff you say because I feel like you see it in different lenses, and I agree with that too. And I think you also said at one particular time that you think that Kathy might have had something to do with Rena getting excommunicado, and I believe that as well. That was just way too much drama. But you would love to get Rena. I think that would be very interesting, actually, to see you get Rena. But she would have to, which I feel like she prides herself on that person of, saying it, owning it, and all that shit. So I don't know why she would not do it, but I feel like she wouldn't do it just because I feel like she would be scared probably to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and it's like, if I'm coming for you, I'm not coming for you when you're in an interview. Then it really isn't about me. It's like, I'm now a journalist and I'm trying to get you to answer questions. And if the audience thinks you're telling the truth, great. If the audience thinks you're lying, great. It's really not my job to criticize what you're saying. I mean, I'll push back and try to get other things, but it's not really about me at this point. It's about you. I mean, then, I also spill the tea of behind the scenes. So it's like, if you come on and we have a great time and now you're driving me crazy wanting an edit, I mean, eventually I'm just going to reveal all these things you're texting me behind the scenes. Like, just the bottom line is, don't drive me crazy. Just be a nice person and we won't have anything to reveal.
Have you ever actually had a run-in with Rena ever? Have you ever met her?
I've met her many times. I have pictures somewhere on my Instagram with her every time I met her. I mean, she's okay. She's okay. She's okay. Like, I don't really know. Listen, a lot of these people know exactly who I am. Rinna, I'm not convinced. I'm not sure Lisa Rinna is running her own social really. And I'm not hedging, I'm sure, but whoever blocked me, like, I just think Rinna is one of those that has a team that does her social media. I don't know why I feel that. I just feel that about her. Feel that about a lot. I mean, a lot of the housewives do. Many don't, but I think with Rinna, there's probably a team involved.
Well, maybe she gave it up during the whole disaster, like when Andy said she was a disaster on social media. Maybe I'm sure that probably would have probably been smarter for her to give it up during that time because she did have a lot going around surrounding her mother and all that kind of stuff, and the show because the show was not really easy on her either. And I mean, and we're gonna do Housewives dish for sure. I have a little thing. It's called the Housewives Rundown for you, but
Okay.
yeah, right. I came prepared, Mr. Yontef. I had the legend on here. I had to be ready.
I love it.
Okay, so let's get to our Housewives rundown. So, of
Let's
course,
do it.
you are the king of this. So, I want to get your perspective and your interesting takes on a couple shows that I actually enjoy. We're going to go kind of in some kind of sequence. But so, I want to start off with the new RHONY girls. So, the new season of RHONY has just started. What is really your overall thoughts of the new season and the new girls? I like them. I don't know if I'm 100% sold in a sense. I like the show. I think it's fresher. I do enjoy that it is basically new. It's like a whole new vibe, whole new ladies, but I don't really know yet. I mean, we're only 2 episodes in because I guess the second episode just aired last night. So we're 2 episodes in, but what are your thoughts? Like, what do you really think of the new ladies?
I don't really know either. I mean, the first episode, the ratings weren't great. I am now, I had Sai De Silva on my show. We did an
I
in-person.
saw.
So I love her because her team reached out and she wanted to come on. And so, once I meet you, and she was wonderful, wonderful in real life. So once you do that, now I love you outside of the show. You know, Jenna isn't my favorite.
Wow.
Bryn isn't my favorite. And
Okay.
I feel mixed like you do. I feel like it's not bad, but then you're like, why am I forcing myself to watch something that I'm not even sure if I love? It's like just
Yeah.
a bigger, it's like an existential, like, do I really want to go down this road with this whole new group of people? I think that's the hesitation, right?
Are you super familiar with the RHONY seasons past? Is that why you feel that kind of trepidation about getting into the new girls?
Yeah, and just like, man, like, I'm so busy for a job. It's just more like, I don't know, like, shouldn't it be easy? But to your point, it's only the second episode. So should we really feel connected to two people after 2 episodes? There's a lot more, but I do think the buzz on it is good. And I think my DMs are flooded with such mixed reactions. So many people are either like, I wanted to hate it and I don't. And a lot of other people are like, I'm just not watching a new group of people. So I don't know. I think it was going to be interesting over the next few weeks to see if ratings increase because of some of the buzz or
Right.
decrease because
Well,
people are like, I watched it and I'm over it.
I'm interested. Why do you feel like why don't you particularly care for Jenna and Brynn? Because I actually think those two were my two favorites of the show. Because
Really?
I felt like Erin was a little subdued. Like I feel like I didn't really get much out of her. Like she was just kind of there. Sai, she was very beautiful, but I kind of felt the same about Erin, like very subdued, kind of laid back, not really getting in the mix. Granted, again, we are only in the second episode, so we don't know them really yet. We haven't seen them fully actualize or realize. Jessel and Uba, I like Uba. I do like Uba. Jessel, yeah, I mean, she kind of falls with Aaron inside of me, not really bringing much. I guess the whole thing with the Jenna thing, I was so intrigued with the whole J. Crew, and like I was wanting to kind of, I don't know, I was just invested in her, I guess, as far as that. And then Brynn, I just think Brynn's fucking funny. I think she's fucking hilarious. I like how she's just so. She feels like somebody I would hang out with, like some of my homegirls, like that I would hang out with. So that's maybe why I like her. But what about you? Why don't you really care for Jenna or Brynn? Like, why are they clicking down?
The only reason why with Brynn is like, is she authentic or is she thirsty? Like, I don't like when you try, like she was on Watch What Happens and she's saying to Andy, like, oh, is it okay if I show a little nipple? And I just don't like when you try to be like so over the top. Like if you're really over the top, okay, but I don't want, as soon as I think you're trying to have your moment, I'm so turned off. So I just am like, is Brynn a little thirsty? That's all. It's just a question. Is she a little thirsty or is this really just who she is?
I can see that though. I can see that. I've seen other people actually call that out as well on social media. So I can see that. I don't know. I guess only time will tell. Only time will tell if this is like her authentic personality because regardless, when you're on that show, everything kind of catches up to you. So if that's not really who you are, it's definitely gonna get exposed and it's gonna come out. And it's gonna be worse when you could have just been yourself in the very fucking beginning.
Yeah. And
But what's the
Jenna,
thing about Jenna? Yeah.
I don't know. You know what it is? I know so many people that now listen, we all know you get a reputation. It's not like hearsay. So who knows? But I just know a lot of people. We don't travel in exactly the same circles in New York, but we travel -1 degree. So I know so many people that know her. And they're just they don't have the best things to say about her. So maybe in my defense or in Jenna's defense, I am biased because of there's been things in my ears for months about her. So maybe that's not me really taking what I see on the screen and it's just me. I don't know.
What you know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe
Ooh.
I haven't been fair to you, Jen Alliance. Maybe I have not been fair and I need to rewatch and really focus on you and maybe give you more of a chance.
But hey, if you're in that degree of separation, just at 1 degree of separation, there might be a little truth to that. You got to keep your eyes peeled. But again,
We
we don't know yet.
we don't know yet. No, it's just starting. And I think, listen, I think it has potential, right? I think it has potential.
I definitely do. Like I when I watched the first episode, I really was like, okay, this is literally like a brand new show, like a brand new feel. It is fresher. I feel like you can kind of tell that, but I guess it would be interesting because I thought the whole first episode with them arguing about cheese was so dumb, and I was just like, where is this going? Like, if this is where it's gonna go, I don't really see it doing much. But again, we're at the very very beginning, so I guess we're kind of have like super harsh criticism. Well, I do. I can't put that on you. I have a harsh criticism of it, but it's like I want you to bring it to me. Like, come on now, we're getting this thing gen back up. Like, we need something to kind of separate you from the prior RHONY. And I just feel like the cheese thing. I was like, that's falling flat for me. But I like the girls overall. I like that they're fresh. It's new. It does feel very hip and very young. I do like that. It reminds me kind of like if you think of like a now version of the Hills, like that young, vibrant kind
Yeah.
of feel. York. I like that, but I just think the girls don't really have strong personalities, and the ones that do, like a Bryn, it seems forced or fake because everybody else is so bland. So
Yeah.
bland. You know, like she kind of sticks out.
Yeah, yes, and yes. I agree with all of that. I think it's young and hip and fresh and Hills-ish, and it's going to be interesting to see kind of how it all plays out.
Absolutely. Okay, so since most people do actually enjoy the refresh that Roni did get, do you think any other city, and which other city do you think should also get a refresh, if any, if any?
I think lots of cities should get a refresh. I mean, this is going to be a very controversial statement, but if you
Well,
really
then
boil
say
it
it.
down, I feel Atlanta needs something.
That was next up. Yes, yes, yes.
Which is so crazy because you have all stars. Candy Burris is an all star. Kenya Moore is an all star. Sheree has had some of the best lines in history. Marlo's a lot extra and is trying everything in the world, but okay, I mean, we've still had her forever. Like, this should be a blockbuster show. We have
Yeah,
all the elements are there, but like,
right.
what are we doing? What are we doing?
It's falling flat, man. It's really falling flat. And that actually, yes, I so agree. But now, I guess with that, like you said, we have the All Stars. We have Candy, we have Kenya, like Sheree. I personally, okay, if I had my choice on like who to take, who to keep, I would literally say I would keep Candy, Kenya, to me, those are the only two I feel like really are. And I know everybody else thinks that other girls are carrying the show this season or whatever. Now, I think the All Stars, like you said, on Atlanta, like Candy and Kenya, I feel like they have to stay. I feel like they really need to stay because they're the show, especially Candy. Candy is quintessential Atlanta. Like she is Atlanta roots. She knows every damn body in Atlanta. She's got a million businesses in Atlanta. I feel like she gives the show some type of credibility and Andy loves Candy. I was just watching on Watch What Happens Live last night. He loves and respects Candy so much, and I'm not really sure why. Well, I'm sure why. She's the goat. I love Candy, but yes, I think them two have to say. But literally everybody else, Drew, Sanya, everybody needs to go. They're boring. I like Drew. I would probably keep Drew as a friend, but Sanya, boring. Marlo, like you said, creating drama that's not there. She's been around for a long time, yes, and I think that is worth something. But she was better to me in a friend capacity. Now that she's got her peach, she's just doing the most ridiculous shit to get camera time, and I think it looks bad. It comes off very thirsty. It comes off very try hard, and I just feel like that's got to go. Who else is on the Courtney? Boring. What is she doing? Just trying to start shit. Like I really agree with you that Atlanta is the next one that needs a refresh. I just don't think they need to get rid of everyone. What I guess, do you think Sheree's comeback has really done anything? I don't. I really don't. I think it's take it or leave it.
I completely agree with you on this. First of all, I think Andy is, whether he wants to admit it or not, I think he is swayed and he has stars in his eyes when someone has a ton of money. And Candy has a ton of money. He does love Candy. When Candy was on my show, she said, I think the reason Andy loves me is because I don't complain. I've never asked for an edit. I mean, these girls from all franchises, they will be like this and that. And I mean, it doesn't get you anywhere, but people come on my show and say things and then want an edit. And I'm like, you're not getting a fucking edit. Why did you open your mouth and say this? It's not my problem. So
Right.
Candy thinks it's because she understands the assignment and doesn't bother Andy. But I agree with you. Andy absolutely loves Candy. It's just that simple. I think Candy is one of these housewives who everyone says she's boring and this and that. To me, she elevates the show. She's bigger than the show. I mean, she Candy fucking Burris. So I wouldn't
That's
go
right.
turn, and she does the job. If you come at her and come for her family, she will snap. So it's not that she's
Right.
so boring. She just, why create unnecessary drama when you don't have to? I think you keep her, and I think Kenya Moore is, I'm sorry, she is the all-star of this entire cast of Atlanta.
I agree. I
I
agree.
think Kenya is so good at the job. She is so great. Sheree, not really. Not really. I mean,
Boring. She's an
boring.
OG. We respect the OGs, but she's like, what really has she contributed to the show. I mean, I guess last season the whole She by Sheree spectacle and everything, and that was, I guess, good for the moment. But now this season, really, there's nothing that I can really pinpoint that she's really brought that I think is of value to the franchise. Really, like we love Sheree, but what is she doing?
What is she doing? I'm not really sure either. I would agree with you. She's, she's a little boring to me. I think if you're going to keep anyone, those are the two that you keep. And Marlo is just it's too much. It's coming across as thirsty and desperate, and you want to hold on to your peach, and all of that's great, but it's like she's throwing the kitchen sink in there. It's too much. It's too
It's
much.
too much, and it's not necessary. And I get that everybody can't have a candy approach, like you said, like where it's not creating unnecessary drama. I know everybody's not built the same way or made the same way, but I just feel like she has to look at the show and know that it looks bad how she's trying to, especially this season, creating all this drama about your nephew passing and trying to attach it to Candy. I just like, why? Like, what are you trying to get out of that? And I think it makes the show look terrible. Like it's kind of made it sour in a sense, like where I think it wasn't as extreme as Beverly Hills last season where it was so toxic, but it's in the same vein, I would think, like where people are kind of turned off by those kind of antics because it doesn't feel authentic, it doesn't feel genuine. And she's to me the cause of
Yeah.
the cause of that, you know? So okay,
Yeah.
so you Atlanta needs a refresh, and you agree that again, like we both said that Candy and Kenya really are the ones that you have to kind of stay around. I think like they really carry that show to me. They're the anchors of that show. Now that we lost Nene, of course, I would love for Nene to come back, but even her, she got insufferable after a while, to where that's why they clipped her too. You know?
I'm okay without
Okay.
Nene. Yes.
Oh, are you? So you would never. So if there was a possibility for her to come back, you would not want her to come back, or you wouldn't really care.
I think if you brought back Nene and Kim together and you saw Nene and
Ooh,
Kim,
yes.
to me, that would be great. I think, first of all, I don't think Nene can ever come back because of the lawsuit and all of that. But I think if Nene came back as an ensemble player, she could be great. If she comes back to just overpower the whole show and it's the Nene show, I mean,
Mhm.
haven't we already seen that? I'm not
Yes,
missing,
we
I don't
have.
miss Nene as much as everyone in the world does, but I think Atlanta is just off the track. It's something, it's like, I don't know why. It's just, it should be so good because you have such
I
great
agree.
people. It's just, I am bored of this season of Atlanta, and I was bored last season too. I was bored.
Yeah. What do you really think, I guess, it would take? Like, do you really think a cash shakeup is really what it needs, or is it something else that is missing? Because really, Atlanta used to be the sparkle. Like, Atlanta used to bring it season after season after season. I mean, literally, when I think back of Housewives, I always think of Atlanta because I have been watching Real Housewives of Atlanta from the beginning. I remember my mom, my aunts, they would get together and watch the reunions. And so, like, that show has been with me since I was a young teenager, you know. So I guess what do you think that it's missing, or what could be brought to spice it up, or just I guess I don't know, rejuvenate it? It's like it's dry.
I don't know. I don't know because if you start
And I think
changing
that's
out the
probably the hard part.
cast, if you change out the cast and you keep some of, I think they need, like, look, I mean, we got lucky with Erica Jane. Look what happened to Jen Shaw. Luann gets a
Yeah.
divorce after being married to Tom. And now in Potomac, we have this SmackDown, which we just witnessed in that video. So it's like, I think Atlanta needs like a real life event as opposed to
Mhm.
like knocking on we have Teresa versus Melissa in New Jersey. I think Atlanta needs something real to happen, like rather than the cast, the producers like, so what's your storyline going to be? So what's your storyline going to be? Blah, blah, blah. I think they need something real to happen.
I agree with that actually. I agree with that. And that was actually I agree with that. I actually really like that take. And I think that's probably what it is gonna take. Because like even with Kenya with her divorce, she's not really sharing much about it. Now I don't think she really can because Mark seems you know, off the rocker or whatever. But yeah, I agree with that. So moving on to Beverly Hills. Okay. So after 27 years of marriage, Kyle and Mauricio confirmed that they have been separating, or they are going to separate, or now I guess they're not going to separate. What the hell is going on with that? Do you really think it's going to come down to them actually divorcing? I don't. I don't see them really splitting like that. I would like them to. I actually like them as a couple. I love them actually. So I don't want them to. Maybe that's the selfish thing of me. It's not about me, anyways. It's their marriage. But what's your take on that? Do you really think after 27 years they're ready to throw in the towel?
I feel that I'm torn on this because now I have a different view of their marriage. Now I don't think it's this happy marriage that they've had for 27 years. I think it's like it's a marriage of convenience. Like, so in a sense, it's like that almost leads me to think maybe they won't divorce. Like, it's working, right? Whatever it is, it's working.
And they're trying to make it work.
And I think, right, they're trying to make it work, quote unquote. I don't think they hate each other. I think so. I think, I think like they could stay together, right? Like, I think it almost works.
It does work, and I think it is out of convenience, almost in this sense, which is kind of crazy to think. But aren't most marriages, in a lot of ways, especially in Hollywood, out of convenience? I mean, a lot of them are business plays, for the look of it. Like they're not really happy, which I hope that they are happy. But and so again, you've had Allison Dubois on your show a few times now. Looking back to season 2, like when at the dinner party from hell, when she kind of threw out there that he would never emotionally satisfy you. Do you think that she really picked up on that? Do you really believe that she really kind of knew what was kind of going on or creeping in the shadows for them?
I think Allison is the real deal. Her
There you go.
energy that she reads is so spot on to me that I feel, yeah, I do. And she got a lot of criticism at the time. Everyone was like, "Oh, you're picking up on Camille's energy because she's divorcing with," and she's like, "No, I wasn't, because I already knew that because I was friends with them."
Oh, see now, okay, right. She already knew kind of what was going on behind the scenes
Right.
because she was friends with Kelsey.
Right. So
Right.
she's
Now that's
like, I
true.
wasn't picking up on that. No, I really do think that and she had a great point when she was on my podcast, Allison. She's like, if you're a medium that is confident in your abilities, you don't need to be right. Like, she's like, I haven't been waiting 13 years to be proven right. Like, I know I was right because I know what my ability is. So I saw what I saw and I know I was right. You're all making this a thing
Hmm.
where you're proving me right 13 years later. I never was sitting around waiting for that moment. And I'm like, that's such a good, valid point.
That is a great point, actually, because I think, I mean, obviously, the minute that they announced that they were separating, that was the first thing that popped in my head. Well, Alison Dubois, she called it from the beginning. And I mean, again, I think she should be confident in her abilities because she was very right. Now, the other person, I don't know if you've really got into all that, but the other person that's allegedly mixed up in all of this is the whole Morgan Wade thing. What do you think about that? I kind of think there's a little truth to it, in my opinion. I think there's a little
I
bit.
feel there's a little, I feel like where there's smoke, there's fire, right? You
Yes,
know?
I think we're there. I think it's there for sure. And I feel like I don't know. I guess I'm like a little nervous to see how it all plays out with the new season because I do like Kyle, I do like Mauricio, but I do think that there is some truth to that for sure. I do think there's some truth to that. How much longer do you have, by the way? Because I know you said you had a hard stop time.
Like another 5 minutes ish.
Okay. So I'm gonna just
We could
skip on
go,
down to
we could go a little longer.
right. I'm gonna skip right on down to New Jersey. Okay, the New Jersey. Now, according to the blogs, everybody has been asked back. Everybody has received their, I guess, their notice to come back. What do you really think about the show moving forward? Do you think it's gonna make sense for everybody to be shooting again together? Will they shoot again together? How do you think that's all gonna work out in the end?
I mean, well, like, there are no contracts as of right now, today, the day we're recording. Like, contracts have not been sent out. The rumor is
Right.
everybody got a call to say, we want you back. But first of all, to me, it's like, so look, do I think everyone's coming back? Sure, I do. to me is a call that means nothing. Like, I want to know your contract was signed, filming started, and then I'm interested in, but so I'm not even convinced everyone's coming back until a contract is signed. I don't think they really know what to do with New Jersey, because if they did, I think the contracts would already be out. Having said that, I do think they would like to have everyone back, and it was a highly rated show, and I don't think they want to get rid of Melissa. Nobody wants to watch this with Teresa and Melissa anymore. Nobody.
Yeah, and that's my thing. I don't see how they're going to make it work because I'm not interested in it past really last season. All that was just so dramatic and over the top. And I really don't know how they're going to make it work to the audience's favor. I'm interested to see, but I do agree with you. I do think they're kind of sitting on pins and needles trying to figure out what's going to happen with New Jersey. Well, I don't want to run over too much of your time. I know you're a very busy man. And I just want to say thank you again from the bottom of my heart for doing this with me.
Well, I was going to say, I will come back anytime you want. I mean, there's always things happening in the Bravo world. Like, this doesn't have to be our only meeting. Feel free to, I will also share this. If you tag me on Instagram when it comes out all over, I will share this everywhere. I was also going to say, people should, if they like what I've had to say, they should listen to Behind the Velvet Rope on Apple and Spotify, anywhere you find podcasts, Behind the Velvet Rope, and they can follow us on Instagram at Behind Velvet Rope. It's all Bravo. It's all Housewives, more or less. It's all this stuff. So, but I really will come back anytime. Your words are very kind. I appreciate.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate you for listening to my show so diligently. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan, like I said. And again, thank you for coming on. And I do want to have you back because I didn't even get through all my questions. So we will have another row at this. And I'm excited about that. But again, he already told you where you can go find him on all his platforms. Go support Behind the Velvet Rope podcast. It's my favorite podcast. So if you love me, you'll love it. And I want to say thank you, David, once again. And I hope you have a fantastic day. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. And keep in touch.
Absolutely. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right. Bye.